Welcome back, Fungi-philes. Today, we're tackling one of the biggest issues in mycology: sustainability. Polypropylene bags are the industry standard. We call them unicorn bags. But they come with risks that we don't regularly talk about: plastic waste and chemical leaching into the fruiting body of our beautiful mushrooms. I'm starting this experiment by using silicone kneading bags. These are already a mass-produced, cheap alternative that are reusable, and we'll experiment with ways to make this viable for both hobbyists and commercial growers alike. We'll also take a look at biodegradable bags as maybe a happy medium, where the costs associated for a big business might outweigh the use of these reusable bags. Let's get into it. Polypropylene bags are everywhere in mycology. They're cheap, effective, easy to use, but mushrooms are bioremediators, nature's cleanup crew. They absorb contaminants and heavy metals from their environment and concentrate that into the fruiting body. This means heavy metals, pesticides, and stabilizers or other additives can end up in our mushrooms. So I think it's time to start thinking about what we're feeding our mushrooms and how we're growing them. And that's where these silicone eating bags come in. They're designed for mess-free dough mixing. They're heat-resistant, reusable, and most importantly, chemically inert. This means no chemical leaching. Back in September, I saw a video from Mushroom Revival where in their organic cordyceps grow, they would use silicone kneading bags as their incubation and grow bags. This got me thinking, can we use this for other mushrooms? Obviously, this brings concern with side fruiters, such as oyster mushrooms, things that don't like to fruit on the top surface. How are we going to make these reusable bags that we don't want to slice up a good alternative? Part of the reason why these polypropylene bags are so good is for uses like side fruiters, where we can cut the bag, but after maybe a few harvests of our crop, these are single-use plastics, and ultimately, it's incredibly wasteful. So to make these silicone bags a viable option for mushroom cultivation, we have to make a few modifications or put some thought into how we're going to use them. First, I cut some holes in these bags to add in these rubber grommets. I got these grommets at my local hardware store, but reason one for having these is the fact that they fit my injection ports very conveniently. I brought one of my ports just to size with it, it friction fits, and now we can cut our hole in our silicone bag, stretch that hole around this, and we'll be able to fit the injection ports into the grommet. This A makes the injection ports replaceable as they slowly break down over repeated injection use. B, this kind of builds in an emergency relief valve, which is most likely not necessary, but just in case pressure does build inside that bag, for whatever reason it can't vent, this will be able to pop out inside of our pressure cooker. But getting back to our issue of side pinners, we can pull that injection port out, and I'm hoping that that port will conveniently work for mushrooms to fruit from by giving them a little area of fresh air exchange. I'm hoping that we can rotate the block inside of this bag afterwards to introduce a new area of mycelium to fresh air, as some mushrooms don't like fruiting over their scar tissue. And while I was waiting for those bags to deliver, I actually found that Ziploc offers these relatively inexpensive Ziploc silicone bags. They're reusable, inert, and I've started a few experiments with them. I have both a blue oyster and a gnocchi, both colonizing. This blue oyster is almost fully colonized. There is no fresh air exchange. It's been going since the 5th, so a little over a week. And I believe that this is almost ready to introduce to fresh air exchange. Now, obviously, I want to be able to use these bags, so I don't want to modify these ones. These were about $14 a piece, which makes them too expensive for our use case. The silicone bags, on the other hand, ran me about $2.50 a piece. You can find them anywhere from a few dollars up to $10 a piece, but for what they are, and my future use case, I hope this is a really cheap investment. Ultimately, to initiate pinning and get the fruits, I think what I'm going to do is open up the Ziploc, fold the neck over a few times, and tape it so there's just a really thin slit to allow the mushrooms to fruit out of. Otherwise than that, I can't really think of a way to do that on this bag without modifying it in some sort of way. We'll get to that later though. Now I'm going to go ahead and load a few of these bags up, and we're going to try making some all-in-one bags with some whole oats and some hardwood substrate. I'll put the injection port in. I already have my pasteurized hardwood substrate that is unsupplemented in a bucket ready to go. And I have ready to go grain jars. I'll probably just use one for one bag just as we test this out. We will then be able to mix it together or leave it layered, throw it all in the pressure cooker, and inoculate once it's cooled. I'm hoping that we'll be able to use this as a complete replacement, and through the entire grow cycle from inoculation to fruiting, we can do most of that in here. If we have something like shiitake or something that fruits the entire block, we could remove it from the bag, put it in a standard fruiting chamber, and it would be good. Ultimately, I think it's really important to bring this to light, whether it's figuring out alternatives or just thinking about ways that we can improve our process. More recently, Easy Mushrooms has started using these in kind of the similar fashion that I was thinking, and you can check that out on his channel. You'll see some of the issues that he ran into was figuring out a way for injection and for fresh air exchange. I believe he used just a modified lid and secured that around, and some of his subscribers talked about maybe using a modified media bottle lid, so it's got this nice ridge. But I think that just gives too many vectors for contamination and feels like too much work for what we're trying to use these for. All of these bags come with this silicone reusable zip tie, or whatever you want to call it. So we can fill this with our substrate and our grain. Seal it as tight as we can, and then we can pressure cook it. After pressure cooking, we can inoculate through the injection port with LC, or we could just open up the top in front of a flow hood or in a still air box to inoculate it with some colonized grain. However, I think using them as all-in-one bags might be the best solution. If we can just fill these, inject them, let them colonize, they're translucent, so we would be able to see the colonization progress. My Ziploc bags have done pretty well being a little bit more translucent, but still being able to see the development. Let's go ahead and prep an all-in-one bag. Let's go ahead and throw in the first injection port. I'm probably going to fill this up just right underneath the injection port with some hardwood substrate. Let's go ahead and do that now. We've got some hydrated substrate here. I'm just going to mix it around thoroughly real quick, and we're going to fill the bottom portion of this bag. Beautiful. We've got it full with probably at least 2 pounds of hardwood in there. Let's go ahead and throw a grain jar in. To clarify, I am already using pre-hydrated, pressure-cooked grain. I'm just going to throw it on top and then re-sterilize everything after. That way both things are individually at their field capacity and properly sterilized, and this is just more of a cleanup after mixing the two together. Now I think what I'm going to do is layer this first one. I'm going to leave that grain just on that top layer and not mix anything around. Now, what you could do is similar to what Easy Mushroom did and put some polyfill in here. I think I'm going to add another port, so A, there's another place to fruit, and B, I can stick a filter patch on top. I'm going to make another port then, exactly how I did the other side, which is really just by cutting a little diagonal out, so you have a little hole. We'll take our rubber grommet. This is just a grooved kind of washer, or a grommet, with a hole through the middle, and this gives us enough surface area, and it's the right size to fit an injection port in there. Perfect, easy enough. Just slip that right in there. Stretches that hole out, fits around nice and secure. Now I'm going to stick a filter patch right on there. I'll just be using your standard sticker, 0.3 micron or 0.03 nanomicron or whatever, nanometer, whatever this filter patch is. We'll be using it. 0.3 micron, I think that's it. Beautiful. Stuck that on that grommet, and you'll see I pinched it around the outside so it fits nice and secure. We will keep that side up when we're pressure cooking, but at this point we can seal it all up. I've pulled that about as tight as I can without, you know, feeling like I'm stretching it out too much. Injection port, filter patch. I think this is ready to go be pressure cooked. I'm just going to throw this in real quick, standard. I use the Instant Pot, so I'm probably going to put it in for an hour and 20. Let's go ahead and see what happens. I actually just wanted to, while I'm here, show you how I'm going to cut this other injection port, or I guess for this one, the breathing port. So I'll just pinch this bag. Just going to make maybe a 1/4 inch cut on both sides, just to make it a little, you know, nice little diamond. Grab one of our grommets and very gently get it in here. You can see I already tore that one a little bit, so I don't want to rip it anymore. I just kind of want to work this this bag up into that groove. But as you can see, slowly but surely, a little bit of finicking just to get it right. I think we're good to go. Pop an injection port in. There's that side. Let's get that filter patch on real quick. These are the nice ones. They got that little paper piece in the back. Center that. Kind of press it down on 4 sides. And pinch these other ones. Just kind of round it all off. Make everything stick real nice. Bam. Breathing port. Injection port. That breathing port might not even be necessary. I want to add this as a test for side fruiters. If we take a look at the blue oysters, they've had no breathing port, and they're almost entirely colonized except a little bit down on the bottom, which is really just that one corner that have yet to be done. I sterilized this all in the Instant Pot, and then just introduced some colonized grain to this one, and it's grown really well. But I'm excited to try and fruit this out of here. Anyway, point being, I don't know if you need an injection or if you need a breathing port or not for this. For this tech, you might not need one at all. The rest of this process will remain the same though. I'm just going to fill it up with substrate. This one's not going to have any grain in it. It's just going to be all hardwood substrate. I've stopped using soy as a supplement in hardwood, like Master's Mix, until I can source it organically grown. I just don't want pesticides getting into my fruiting bodies. There we go. Fill up with our grain, injection, and breathing port. We just get this silicone twisty. Pull it through as tight as comfortable. Don't want to break the silicone, but I do want to stop air from coming through there. Beautiful. Let's go through this in the Instant Pot with the other one. Another idea for these larger scale commercial operations is something similar to what I saw on Grow Cycle. They use these biodegradable custom-made bags that they can fruit from. This allows them to cut them, but also helps reduce that non-biodegradable waste. However, this still seems excessively wasteful, and I feel like reusable bags are that better solution. Now let's go ahead and figure out how I'm going to initiate fruiting on this guy. It's about fully colonized. I'd say 99% if anything. I believe I'm going to start with opening it up. It smells very nice in there. Alright, so I've got the neck rolled down. I'm going to go ahead and wire tie it. You could use tape or anything, but I just want just a little slit for fresh air exchange. It really does not need to be much. There we have it. I have just this little hole right there available. I'm going to give it just a quick mist of water, and then I'm going to put it in my fruiting chamber, and we'll see what happens with this one. I'm not really sure if this is a good solution or not, but figured I'd give it a shot. And there we go. It's the next day. I ended up upping the pressure cooker time to about 1 hour 45, I think. for the 2 of them. None of the kernels popped and everything still looks nice and hydrated in there. So we're going to go ahead and inoculate them. Now, for inoculating, it should be pretty straightforward. First, I'm just going to get these ports positioned up a little bit and spray those both down with isopropyl alcohol. Alright, for today, I chose a golden oyster and one of my lion's mane syringes that I've extracted from my jar. And we're going to go ahead and inoculate each of them with about 2.5–3 cc's. That might be overkill, but I'm fine with that. Pop these guys. Let this cool down. Alright, we did our lion's mane to just the straight hardwood. We're going to do our golden oyster to this all-in-one. About 3 cc's. Cap that back up. And now with both of these inoculated, we can go ahead and move them to an incubation chamber. That does wrap up today's video, however. We'll go ahead and continue to experiment with these and refine the process to really make these a good solution to avoid using plastic in our grows. Keep in mind that if you are using tubs, to line them with something like aluminum foil that can't absorb into your mushrooms. Also, in more than just mushroom cultivation, keep sustainability in mind for all aspects of your life. There's always something that we can all do to improve and make better decisions for our environment. Thanks for watching Fungi-philes. See you in the next one.